Greetings, theists and non-theists. I am the Atheist Paladin. So, a new argument from the divine hiddenness camp. From the divine hiddenness argument. Mostly this is an adaptation and to James Doth American Atheist's Belief 9.0. I have added I've added a definition or two, or actually one. Changed and added to some prepositions, and as well added some conclusions as well. And I think this increases the argument, or the strength of the argument, even further. So it comes from the position of mistaken belief, from the divine hiddenness argument. So, with that being said, let's move on. Definition 1, there is a God defined as omniscient, omnipotent, and omnibenevolent. Definition 2, revelation is God's disclosure of himself to his creation. Definition 3, there is evidence of propositional knowledge. Definition 4, their revelation is experiential knowledge. Definition 5, non-resistant non-belief is a disposition to incredulity. Definition 6, non-resistant non-belief is a disposition to credulity while being unconvinced. Definition 7, mistaken belief is the disposition to credulity that results in misunderstanding of propositional knowledge or experiential knowledge of God. An example can include someone that believes in a God but in the wrong one, or someone that is believing in the right God but is mistaken about the characteristics or commandments of that God based on a simple misunderstanding or cognitive illness. Premise 1. God desires mankind to achieve filial knowledge with him. Premise 2. God can be known experientially or propositionally. Premise 3. Propositional knowledge does not entail but may result in filial knowledge. Premise 4. Experiential knowledge does not entail but may result in filial knowledge. Premise 5. If it is the case that God is omniscient, then he is aware of state affairs that would bring about filial knowledge of him, or correct mistaken belief about him. Premise 6. If it is the case that God is omnipotent, then he is capable of actualizing state of affairs that would bring about filial knowledge of him, or correct mistaken belief about him. If it is the case that God has made his existence propositionally known in the past, or has corrected mistaken beliefs in propositional knowledge about him in the past, then such state of affairs is logically possible. Premise 8. If it is the case that God has made his existence experientially known in the past, or corrected mistaken belief in experiential knowledge, then such state of affairs is logically possible. Premise 9. God has actualized states of affairs that have led certain individuals filial knowledge of him, or corrected mistaken belief about him. Premise 10. God has not actualized states of affairs that would lead certain individuals to filial knowledge of him, or corrected mistaken belief about him. Premise 11. The degree which God's existence is known propositionally or is misunderstood is at his discretion. The degree which God's existence is known experientially or misunderstood is at his discretion. Premise 13. There is a necessary state of affairs for individuals that will bring about filial knowledge of God or correct mistaken belief about God. Premise 14. If it is the case that it is not logically possible to God actually necessary states of affairs to bring about filial knowledge of him, or correct mistaken belief about him, then such state of affairs is logically impossible. Premise 15. If the states of affairs which are logically impossible do not entail culpability. Premise 16. States of affairs which, in allowing mistaken belief can occur, can also further spread mistaken belief. Premise 17. There is a state of affairs which, in allowing mistaken belief, can further the spread of non-resistant non-belief. Premise 18. There is a state of affairs which, in allowing mistaken belief, can further the spread of resistant non-belief. Conclusion 1. Resistant non-belief If resistant non-belief occurs, or mistaken belief occurs, then it is either the case that God has not actualized a state of affairs that will bring about filial knowledge of him, or has not actualized a state of affairs that have corrected mistaken belief about him, or it is that the case that God has not actualized, such is the case that its actual state of affairs is logically not possible. Conclusion 2. Non-resistant non-belief is inculpable. Conclusion 3. Resistant non-belief is inculpable. Conclusion 4. Mistaken belief is inculpable. Conclusion 5. Non-resistant non-belief that is a result of mistaken non-belief is also inculpable. Conclusion 6. Resistant non-belief that is a result of mistaken non-belief is also inculpable. Premise 19, and the culpable non-belief and mistaken non-belief is incompatible with God as defined in definition 1. Conclusion 7, if it is the case that non-belief occurs and or mistaken belief occurs, then it is the case that God does not exist. This means that God is responsible if such God exists. If he is responsible, means that he's also responsible for all the different religions, denominations, and even batshit insane people that drown babies because they think it's good for them. If any of this results in mistaken belief or atheism or non-belief, then he is culpable. There is other religions, there is other denominations, and there is people who think they know God and are mistaken via being wrong in certain interpretations. Then obviously God does not exist because he does not correct such things and does not desire to. So I think that's it. I think I've done a pretty good job of that. So remember, people, rationality is the path of righteousness.